What if the real danger in life isn't being wrong, but being too certain you're right? What if the thing holding a man back isn't the world or bad luck, but his own refusal to look inward? And what if the most damaging kind of stupidity is the kind that hides in plain sight, masquerading as confidence and control? Let's be brutally honest, stupidity has nothing to do with low intelligence. It has everything to do with patterns that keep a man weak, stuck, blind to his own failures. And here's the worst part, a truly stupid man doesn't even know he's stupid. He keeps repeating the same mistakes he refuses to learn, and when life hits hard, he doesn't stop to reflect. He points fingers, he blames the world for everything. He's unwilling to face in himself. Carl Jung once said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate." That quote hits deep, because a foolish man walks through life blindfolded. He blames bad luck, he blames timing, he blames other people, but the truth he refuses to face is this: his real enemy is within. His own blind spots create the suffering he keeps reliving, and he never connects the dots. That is the root of stupidity. A foolish man doesn't recognize his worst habits. He lets them run his life on autopilot. He repeats the same cycles again and again, and he thinks that's just the way life is. He doesn't change because he doesn't even know what needs to change. But here's something most people won't say out loud: stupidity is a choice. And if you don't recognize the behaviors that are holding you back, you might be making those same choices without even knowing it. So if you want to avoid becoming that man, or if you want to spot that kind of man before he drags you down, then listen closely, because what comes next will hit hard. These are 6 unmistakable signs of a stupid man. Number 1, he thinks he knows everything. There is nothing that screams stupidity louder than a man who refuses to learn. He believes he already has all the answers, so he never questions himself, never looks for better ways, never admits when he's wrong. Instead of growing, he defends his outdated beliefs like they're unshakable truth. He confuses stubbornness with wisdom and shuts out anything that challenges his pride. Proverbs says it clearly: a fool takes no pleasure in understanding, only in expressing his opinion. Carl Jung said it too. Thinking is difficult. That's why most people judge this kind of man. Will argue confidently about things he barely understands. He'll reject advice from people who are clearly wiser. He'll mock new ideas, not because they're wrong, but because they make him uncomfortable, because they force him to reconsider, and he won't do that. He doubles down on ignorance instead of evolving. He stays stuck, and there's actually a name for this: the Dunning-Kruger effect. It explains how people with the least knowledge are often the most confident, while those who are truly intelligent are more aware of how much they still don't know. A stupid man lives in the illusion that he already knows enough. And that illusion keeps him from becoming more so. The next time you meet someone who talks like they have all the answers, ask yourself, are they really wise, or are they just afraid of looking deeper? In the next part, we'll break down another trait, one that hides behind false strength, but slowly destroys everything a man builds. From the inside out, let's pick up where we left off. We just uncovered how a foolish man clings to the illusion of knowledge. But it doesn't stop there, because when he thinks he already knows everything, he shuts the door to real growth. He watches one YouTube video, and suddenly he's an expert. He believes he understands politics better than politicians, economics better than economists, psychology better than therapists. He acts like his personal experiences are universal truth, as if living a few tough years makes him wiser than a lifetime of study. But here's the real problem: his ignorance runs so deep he can't even see it. And that mindset quietly ruins everything, because when a man believes he already knows it all, he stops improving. Why try to learn when you think there's nothing left to learn? He pushes people away without realizing it. No one respects a man whose arrogant but uninformed conversations become frustrating. People lose interest in his company. He starts making poor decisions, blind to his own blind spots. Over time, those poor choices add up. He makes the same mistakes again and again. His career stalls, his potential wastes away, because men who refuse to learn eventually get left behind. They never adapt, they never evolve, they stay stuck in the same place for years, while others move ahead because a smart man knows better. A wise man never stops asking questions, he seeks out mentors, he listens to different perspectives, he welcomes criticism, he adjusts when needed, Socrates once said. A wise man knows that he knows nothing. That's not weakness, that's power. Because when a man admits he doesn't know everything, he opens the door to actually grow, but not the stupid man. He never questions himself, he never reads, never learns, never admits when he's wrong. He wears his stubbornness like armor, and whenever life punches him in the face, he refuses to take responsibility. Stupid man always has an excuse when he fails. It's not his fault, it's because someone tricked him, or because the system is broken, or because the world is unfair. His relationships fall apart, and instead of looking in the mirror, he blames women, blames timing, blames everyone but himself. He tells himself he's just unlucky, that he's the victim, but here's what he won't admit. The reason his life never changes is because he never does. Accountability is the foundation of growth. And a man who can't own his mistakes will never build anything real. A foolish man doesn't see himself as a creator. He sees himself as a victim. If he's broke, it's because the game is rigged. If he's overweight, it's because of his genetics. If he's stuck in his job, it's because his boss is out to get him. He convinces himself that everything is outside his control. But the truth is uglier. Carl Jung said, "People will do anything, no matter how absurd, to avoid facing their own souls." And that's exactly what the stupid man does. He runs from himself, he hides behind a wall of excuses. Because facing the truth would shatter his ego, and he's too fragile for that. In the next part, we'll explore the third sign of a foolish man, one that hides behind charm, but quietly poisons everything he touches from within. Previously, we talked about how blaming others strips a man of his power. Now let's look at what happens when that blame becomes a way of life. When a man refuses to take responsibility, he locks himself in a prison of his own excuses. He stays stuck in the same problems year after year. The world moves on, but he remains in place because growth demands accountability, and without it, there is no progress. He starts losing the respect of others. People see through the lies he tells himself. They stop taking him seriously because every time something goes wrong, he points the finger outward instead of inward. And here's the harsh truth. The moment you say "it's not my fault" is the moment you hand your power away. You give control of your life to someone else. You surrender the ability to change. But contrast that with a wise man. The fool blames the world. The wise man adapts. The fool complains. The wise man solves. The fool hides from discomfort, but the wise man steps into it because he knows growth lives in that pain. And that's why foolish men stay broke, stay bitter, stay stuck, while wise men rise, while wise men evolve and win. So pause and ask yourself, are you truly owning your life? Or are you quietly playing the victim behind your words and habits? Because the answer to that question decides everything. Now, let's move to the third sign of a foolish man. One that's visible to everyone around him. He can't control his emotions. This man is ruled by what he feels in the moment. Not by logic, not by wisdom, but by impulse. He reacts instead of responding, and his reactions often create more damage than the problem itself. He doesn't pause, he doesn't breathe, he doesn't think. He explodes or collapses or vanishes, all depending on how he feels that day. Take the hothead. One tiny setback, a traffic jam, a late reply, a small disagreement, and he erupts, yelling, blaming, projecting rage like it makes him look powerful. But it doesn't. It makes him look weak, because true strength is quiet, composed, grounded than theirs. The overreactor to him, every inconvenience is a catastrophe, every delay is disrespect, every no feels like betrayal. He spirals into anger or sulks in victimhood, never realizing he's creating chaos with his own hands. And let's not forget the impulsive man he spends without thinking, quits jobs in frustration, says words in arguments he can never take back. His emotions drive every decision, and he pays the price every time. Carl Jung once said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate." And that's exactly what happens here. A foolish man lets his unconscious mind run wild. And when life falls apart, he blames fate, he blames others. He never looks at the root. He thinks aggression is power, that shouting the loudest makes him right, but the opposite is true. A man who can't control his emotions is weak. He's not just ruled by himself, he's ruled by anyone who knows how to push his buttons. And when your emotions control you, so does everyone else. Coming up next, we'll uncover the fourth trait, a subtle but deadly mindset that destroys trust from the inside out. After seeing how a man's refusal to take responsibility robs him of power, we now reach the turning point. What happens when this behavior becomes a pattern? When a man keeps blaming others for his problems, he remains stuck in a loop that never ends. The same struggles, the same frustrations, year after year, because without accountability, there is no real growth. He starts losing the respect of those around him, not because he's unlucky, but because people see the truth, they see the excuses, they see the blame, and over time they stop trusting him. But perhaps the worst part, he loses control over his own life, because here's the harsh truth. Every time you say, "It's not my fault," you hand your power away, you give someone else the wheel, and you sit in the passenger seat of your own life. Now, let's break this down. A foolish man blames the world. A wise man adapts. The fool complains and points fingers. The wise man looks inward and finds a way. The fool hides from discomfort. The wise man walks into it because he understands that discomfort is where transformation begins. That's why foolish men stay bitter, stay broke, stay stuck. They resist what could make them better, while wise men keep growing. They face the fire and come out stronger. So here's the question that really matters. Are you owning your life, or are you secretly playing the victim? Because how you answer, that determines everything that comes next. Now, let's talk about another trait of a foolish man, one that everyone sees. Even if he doesn't, he cannot control his emotions. This kind of man is not driven by discipline or thought. He is driven by whatever he feels in the moment. He doesn't respond. He reacts, often with intensity, often with regret. Think about the hothead. He erupts over the smallest things: traffic, a late reply, someone challenging his opinion. He mistakes his outbursts for strength, but all it shows is how fragile he truly is. Then there's the overreactor. To him, a minor inconvenience feels like betrayal. A simple problem becomes a crisis. He doesn't problem solve, he spirals. He either rages or collapses into self-pity. And what about the impulsive man? He doesn't think through his choices. He spends recklessly, quits jobs in the heat of emotion, says things in arguments that he later regrets. His emotions run his life, and he's left cleaning up the mess afterward. Carl Jung once said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate." And that's exactly what happens here. A foolish man doesn't understand his own patterns. He doesn't examine his reactions. He lets his emotions take the lead, and when the fallout comes, he blames the world, never himself. He believes that being loud means being right, that aggression equals strength. But let's be clear, a man who cannot control himself is not powerful. He's vulnerable, because anyone who knows how to press his buttons can control him without lifting a finger. We'll expose another habit of the foolish man, one that wears a mask of charm but quietly drains the trust of everyone around him. Previously, We saw how a man without emotional control becomes easy to manipulate. Now let's go deeper, because when emotions rule a man, he's not just controlled by people, he's controlled by everything. A man who lacks emotional mastery becomes a slave to circumstances. His peace rises and falls with what happens around him. He wakes up confident one day and completely defeated the next, not because of anything internal, but because he lets the outside world dictate his inner world. Then it gets worse. He becomes a victim of his own mind. He ruins opportunities, he damages relationships, he sabotages his progress, not because he isn't capable, but because he reacts emotionally instead of thinking clearly. But a wise man, he does the opposite. He knows emotions are real, but he also knows they're temporary, so he doesn't let them drive his actions. As Proverbs says, a fool gives full vent to his anger, but a wise man quietly holds it back, and that one sentence contains a lifetime of wisdom. Because true strength isn't loud, it's not explosive, it's quiet, it's calm, it's controlled. Wise men know this. They pause before they react. They don't explode at the first sign of frustration. They breathe, they reflect, they channel their feelings into growth, into clarity, into better choices. Instead of letting anger burn bridges, they use it to build boundaries. They let frustration drive improvement. They don't silence their emotions. They master them. They become self-aware. They notice when emotions start to take over, and instead of getting swept away, they shift into logic. They ask, what's the best response here? What's the outcome I want? And they act with intention, because the truth is simple. If a man can't control his emotions, he can't control his life. Real strength is not how loud you are in a fight, it's how well you stay composed. When everything's falling apart, that's what separates a strong man from a weak one. And now we move into another defining trait of foolish men. It's not about how they think, but about who they keep close, because the people around you, they shape your future more than you think. Let's talk about the fourth sign he surrounds himself with. Fools. Continuing from the last part on the impact of your environment, let's now look at what happens when a man stops choosing discipline and starts chasing comfort. Spend enough time with undisciplined people and you'll lose your own sense of structure. If a man surrounds himself with friends who are broke, lazy, and wandering without direction, it doesn't take long before he becomes one of them. He starts thinking like them, acting like them, falling into the same traps they never escaped. But a wise man does something different. He doesn't seek comfort in the crowd. He seeks growth in challenge. He looks for people who force him to level up, people who make him feel uncomfortable in the best possible way. If you're always the smartest person in the room, maybe you're in the wrong room. Smart men choose their inner circle carefully. They look for mentors who are already where they want to go, for challengers who don't flatter them but sharpen them, for winners who show up every day with discipline and fire in their eyes. Why? Because they understand something simple. Your environment is shaping you more than you realize. A foolish man is shaped by his surroundings. A wise man shapes his surroundings. So ask yourself this: who are you letting influence your thoughts, your habits, your direction? Because if you're sitting in a room full of fools, you might already be one of them. Now, here's another trait of a foolish man. He doesn't live with discipline. He lives chasing pleasure. Number 5. He chases pleasure instead of discipline. This kind of man is a slave to his urges. He doesn't choose challenge. He avoids it. He doesn't seek growth. He runs from it. He's constantly looking for the next hit of comfort, the next distraction, the next easy escape. He trades long-term rewards for short-term satisfaction. Instead of building something with purpose, he wastes his hours and his energy on cheap dopamine fixes, mindless scrolling, junk food, shallow relationships, late-night escapes that leave him more empty than before. Carl Jung believed that every man is at war inside himself. The higher self that pushes for meaning, and the lower self that craves immediate pleasure. The foolish man lets the lower self win. Every time he chooses pleasure over discipline, he's surrendering his future. Fools live for comfort, but the wise invest in what's to come. Think about it. We live in a world designed to trap the undisciplined, bored. You're one tap away from hours of useless content. Sad? Numb it with alcohol or distractions. Lonely? Swipe endlessly instead of connecting deeply, unmotivated. Escape into games where you can pretend to win without doing the work. Every single day, week, men take the bait. They give in to their impulses. And what happens? Their dreams stay dreams. Their bodies break down. Their minds grow soft. Their potential dies slowly while they scroll their lives away. And one day they look in the mirror and wonder why they never became the man they hoped to be. A foolish man asks, "What feels good right now?" A wise man asks, "What builds the future I want to live in?" And in the next part, we'll uncover the final trait that separates the foolish from the wise, the one that either leads to respect or guarantees regret. Stay with me. Smart men invest their time into becoming better versions of themselves. They read, they work out, they learn new skills. Meanwhile, the lazy fool sits back watching Netflix all day. He drifts through life in a haze of distraction, while the wise man is sharpening his mind like a blade. The foolish man wastes his money on parties and useless things, but the wise man makes every dollar count. He saves, he invests, he builds a future that can't be shaken. The undisciplined fool jumps from one shallow relationship to the next, always chasing a feeling, never building anything real. The wise man is different. He chooses meaningful connections. He picks a partner who strengthens him, someone who adds to his mission, not distracts from it. That's why the truth is simple. Only disciplined men succeed. As Proverbs says, a foolish man devours all he has, but a wise man stores up wealth. And this isn't just about money. It's about building a life with structure. The greatest men in history, warriors, kings, thinkers, they all lived by one code: discipline. They rose early. They trained their minds. They mastered their cravings. They didn't live for comfort. They lived for purpose. Pleasure is a trap. A fool runs into it. A wise man sees it coming and keeps it in check. Because if you don't master yourself, the world will master you. Now we arrive at the sixth and final habit, and in many ways, it's the most dangerous one of all. A foolish man never learns from his mistakes. This is the deadliest kind of stupidity. Repeating the same errors over and over without ever changing course. A man who refuses to learn becomes a prisoner to his own ignorance. No matter how many fresh chances life offers, he steps into the same trap again. In relationships, in business, in his personal growth, the story is always the same. Think about it. Do you know someone who always dates toxic people and then wonders why their heart gets broken again? Someone who keeps making bad financial choices and then blames the system for their struggles. Someone who falls into the same destructive habits: procrastination, addiction, laziness, and acts surprised when nothing changes. Carl Jung called this pattern unconscious repetition, compulsion. We keep repeating the same wounds, the same pain, not because we enjoy suffering, but because it feels familiar. Even when it hurts, it feels known. and that keeps us stuck. The foolish man never stops to ask why. Why does this keep happening? What pattern am I caught in? Instead, he plays the victim. Life is unfair. People are the problem. The system is rigged. He never looks in the mirror, but here's the truth. Life is a constant teacher. The only question is whether you're willing to learn. Albert Einstein said it best. Insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result. And yet, this is how so many live. The wise man does something radically different. He doesn't run from failure. He studies it. He asks himself, what went wrong? What could I have done better? What's the real lesson hiding in this pain? Because the truth is, both the wise and the foolish will stumble. Both will fail, but only one will grow from it. The fool repeats. The wise man evolves, and in the final part, will bring it all together. The path to becoming a man who earns real respect. Stay with me. Let's wrap this up the right way. After exposing the habits of foolish men and exploring the traps they fall into, there's one final truth we can't ignore. If you keep repeating the same bad decisions, life will keep punishing you until you finally wake up. So ask yourself honestly, are you learning from your past? Or are you simply living it on repeat? Here's a bonus sign most people overlook. Foolish men talk far more than they listen. They dominate conversations. They interrupt. They rarely ask questions. And they almost never show genuine curiosity about what others think or feel. Why is that so dangerous? Because listening is how we learn. It's how we build trust. It's how we grow. A man who can't listen is a man who cuts himself off from wisdom. And without wisdom, there's no growth, no progress, no depth. So, now that we've unpacked the 6 core traits of a foolish man, here's the bigger question. How do you make sure you're not becoming one of them? Because if we're honest, we've all slipped into some of these patterns before. We've all reacted instead of reflecting, blamed others instead of taking ownership, chased comfort instead of growth. The key is not perfection, it's awareness. Recognizing these traits early, then choosing a better path. Because wisdom isn't about having a perfect score. It's about staying curious, staying open, and being willing to change. So, how do you escape the cycle of self-sabotage and build real intelligence? Let's break it down. Step 1. Get brutally honest with yourself. No more excuses. No more sugarcoating. Look at your life with clear eyes and ask the hard questions. Where do I keep messing up? Where do I shift blame instead of stepping up? Who am I surrounding myself with? Are they lifting me or holding me back? Carl Jung once said, people will do anything, no matter how absurd, to avoid facing their own soul. Don't be one of them. Step 2. Kill your ego and stay humble. The fool believes he already knows everything. The wise man knows learning never ends. Ask yourself, what might I be wrong about? What can I learn from those around me? Am I defensive or open to feedback? Because the day you stop learning is the day you start falling behind. Step 3. Master your emotions. A foolish man is ruled by his impulses. He reacts without thinking. A wise man pauses. He breathes. He responds with clarity. Stop letting small things knock you off course. Build the habit of staying calm, even when chaos strikes. Step 4. Upgrade your circle. If you're the smartest man in the room, find a new room. Surround yourself with thinkers, builders, doers. Seek out mentors. Eliminate the distractions. Grow with people who challenge you. Remember what Jim Rohn said. You are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. Choose wisely. Step 5. Learn from every single mistake. That's the golden rule. Mistakes are guaranteed, but growth is optional. Will you keep repeating the same cycle, or will you extract the lesson and break free? A wise man reflects, he adjusts, he evolves. A foolish man doesn't even pause to ask what went wrong. Because here's the truth. Intelligence is a choice. Stupidity only lasts as long as you let it. You have the power to change your story, but only if you're ready to do the real work. Face your flaws, stay humble, surround yourself with the right people. Learn fast, adapt faster. Most people won't. Do this, they'll keep blaming, keep avoiding, keep wondering why life never seems to improve. But you're still here, and that tells me something. You want to grow, you want to rise, you want to become the kind of man who leads with strength, learns with humility, and lives with wisdom. So, now it's up to you. If this message spoke to something inside you, hit that subscribe button. Don't just listen, take action. Tap like if this hit home. Share it with someone who needs to hear it. And drop a comment below. Which part challenged you the most? What are you working on changing? Because this is just the beginning. More insights, more truth, more growth coming your way. Until next time, stay sharp, stay honest, stay on the path.